Welcome everyone to our 10th episode of ZeeMee's So Hot Right Now, the show that's focused on bringing you the hottest topics, asking the burning questions, and fanning the flames for teams, tools, and individuals in the higher ed space that are on fire right now. I'm your host, Soup Campbell, Head of Community Experience at ZeeMee, the hottest social app and platform for colleges, universities, and students. For all of you watching, as you know, we want you to jump into the chat and introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, where you're from. We want everybody to participate with us today. So definitely jump in that chat and be sure to stick around. It may be a challenge with this group, but we are going to do our best to make sure we've got time at the end for a few questions and answers. So stick around to the end. We want to make sure if you've got any questions, our panelists can address those. But with that, it is time to turn up the heat and meet today's rock star panelists. Today, I'm honored to be joined by three enrollment pros. All three of these actually have been crushing it on ZeeMee. They're also ZeeMee partners, which is pretty cool. And so I'll start off with introducing Megan Dwyer, Associate Director of Marketing and Communications at Marist College, Blake Huster, Assistant Director of Admissions at Maryville University, and Dinah Kennard, Senior Director of Admission at St. Edward's University. Super excited to have these three with me today. I've known all three of them for a while. These are going to be phenomenal guests. So last month, if you tuned in last month, our episode focused on MELT strategies. We actually had a lot of positive feedback from that episode. So what we decided to do this month is basically like a continuation of that same theme, kind of a part two, so to speak. So today's topic is Engage to Enroll, Summer Strategies that Fight Melt and Fuel Yield. Oh, that was tough to say. So that's what we're focusing on today. Super excited to explore these topics and see what we can learn. But before we dive in, I want each of our amazing guests today to simply just kind of introduce yourself, tell us kind of who you are, a little bit about your role, and then I always love it if you could just maybe tell me one fun fact about your institution that maybe none of us out here know. And so, Meg, I will start with you first.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here. So I've been in the comms and marketing space for about a decade now, a mix of educational institutions, nonprofit, and even I did a little bit of e-com work as well. I've been with Marist for about a year now. We partner very, very closely with our admission team, enrollment marketing, communications. So I've been really happy to have the opportunity to work with Soup through ZeeMee and continue to kind of improve how we connect. One fun fact about Marist is we actually have a campus in Poughkeepsie and a campus in Florence, Italy as well.
Oh, I actually did not know that. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Blake, let's head over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Soup, for having me. This is going to be fun. So my name is Blake Huster. I work at Maryville University as one of our assistant directors of admissions. Still very much an admissions counselor, running around the road a little bit and working with students really closely, which is always a lot of fun. I am going into my fourth admission cycle with Maryville, and we picked up ZeeMee. Like, I think this is like our fourth year partnering with ZeeMee as well. Like, it was right around the time that I was coming in, which has been a lot of fun. But fun fact about Maryville, I'm a cybersecurity grad from there, but one of my favorite programs at Maryville is the Rawlings Sports Business Management program. It's really cool to watch all those sports business management majors get so many cool internship opportunities, stuff like that. They're down in New Orleans right now, preparing for the 2025 Super Bowl, which is pretty fun for a university our size. And so I always say, I wish I could have secretly done that. So yeah, that's my fun fact.
Oh, that's super cool. Gosh, these college students today, they get to do so many awesome things. Always makes me jealous.
Yeah.
Dinah, jump in.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dinah Sabeljo Kennard. I'm Senior Director of Admission at St. Edward's. I could say I'm maybe the most tenured on the panel, but that also just means I'm much older. I have been at St. Edward's for about 22 years now. It's been a pleasure, all of it in admission. Frequent trips to the hair colorist to cover up all the gray hair that a career in admission has generated. But it's been a wonderful time. I oversee our campus visit programs and the team that works on that, as well as a lot of our relationships with internal and external partners, faculty, alumni, and external partners like ZeeMee. We've been a ZeeMee climate client and partner for, gosh, close to 10 years now, and really enjoy the platform and have loved kind of participating as the platform has evolved and evolving our strategies with the platform. So all of that's to say, it's a pleasure to be here and participate in this panel. Fun fact about St. Edward's, we're located in Austin, Texas. The environment is really important to Austin as a culture, environmental sustainability, environmental justice, sustainability issues, et cetera. We have a few majors in that space here at St. Edward's, and we have a wonderful community garden on campus and a food forest. So fun fact about St. Ed's, those things are a big part of who we are in our culture here.
I love that so much. Earlier today, literally, I was thinking like I'm at that stage of my career where is it weird that I just think about gardening and like just want to go out and spend time doing that type of stuff. So I would love all of that type of stuff that you all have there on campus. Sounds super cool. All right. So let's get into this today. All right. We're going to start. Our first topic is a little broad. And it's more about just what is happening on campus right now with this incoming class. What are some of the strategies that we're doing right now, keeping this group connected, engaged? So I'm going to have each of you take a couple minutes and maybe share a little bit, but each of you take a few minutes, walk us through some of the primary strategies you and your team are focused on this summer for getting this current recruiting class across the finish line. And so, Dinah, I'll start with you and let you kind of jump in first on this one.
Sure. Thanks, Sue. Well, this is a summer unlike any other. I think it probably rivals, the summer of 2020 when we were all still recruiting at the start of quarantine, trying to still recruit the class. I actually think this has probably been a more challenging year than that year, because the challenges of this recruitment cycle have lasted so much longer than it kind of did in that short runway between like March 2020 and we were still trying to yield the class for August. And I think, honestly, I think the stakes are even higher than they were for 2020 in terms of just the challenges with FAFSA that have created significant burden on students and families this year. Really stands to jeopardize students' ability to enroll in college anywhere this fall. And so I think really acknowledging the challenges of this year, and we've been in regular communication with students and families throughout the year, keeping them updated on where things are on our end, what our projected timeline is for being able to get packages to them, and really just, meeting them where they are, being flexible, being understanding, empathetic, knowing that this has been a really difficult year from them. They might have gotten a package from us, but they're waiting on packages from other places. The financial piece is always incredibly stressful for families in enrollment management. And so knowing that, there was extra pressure throughout this year on that piece of the process, which is already incredibly stressful, just really kind of being clear and upfront and acknowledging that, I think, has been really helpful and to students and families. And quite honestly, this summer we're still recruiting the class. Our deadline is extended to June 15th. I know a number of colleges extended to June 1st and some to June 15th. We're one of the ones that extended to June 15th. So we're 48 hours away from our enrollment deadline. So in a lot of ways, this feels like the end of April right now, and in fact, it's mid-June.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that this actually could be a cycle even more challenging than our first COVID cycle that we went through. But yeah, I can definitely see that. Blake, jump in. Anything you would add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're definitely doing everything that was mentioned, but I think also we're taking the opportunity to do a couple of things. We're creating space for our students, especially through the ZeeMee platform, right? We're using several different areas of our ZeeMee platform to really create space for students, whether that's just making sure that they understand how they can connect with their admissions counselor or connect with peers, current peers or incoming students. And I think really from early on when we knew what I like to call the FAFSA fiasco is that we're taking the opportunity where we can't give them, especially before we had packages out, like the facts, the data-driven facts of the financials, but creating space for students to engage still and building that community. And that's the big focus of a lot of what we do, but really, really important when it comes to especially right now when we didn't have all the facts for them right up front. And so we really have been trying to humanize through our different platforms our admissions counselors, our current students, our orientation leaders, now that we're heading into orientation season and stuff like that, and really also build out the space that we're in. You know, Maryville's a little bit of a smaller institution, land size wise, in a suburb of St. Louis, but also showcasing everything that we have to offer outside of our campus as well. And so I think that's some of the strategies that we've been doing and using in this crazy year.
Yeah, I love that. And Meg, I'll let you jump in on this one as well if you've got things to add, but then also I'll shift kind of to a secondary question to this for you, Meg, just to see, are we doing anything like different this summer that's just kind of uniquely different than maybe we've done in years past, or just thoughts around, you know, what's kind of changed, or have some of our strategies shifted this summer? You know, one of those literally is just we pushed our deposit deadline back. Like that's just something that, you know, many schools have done. But are there any other things, Meg, that you can think of where you might just be doing things a little bit different this year, this summer with this class from previous recruitment cycles?
Absolutely. And I think for our team in particular, we're very new as a centralized marketing and communication team at Marist. So we actually did not have a dedicated staff member responsible for managing these ZeeMee connections. And what we did at the start of last admission cycle was bring in 2 students to specifically work with us on managing the platform. And what we tasked them to do was really identify what were all the things that you wish you had when you were going through your application cycle. What were the answers you wish that you knew? What did you wish that you could communicate through ZeeMee to be able to build those, you know, authentic connections? And so really our 2 students have been just superstars to work with in terms of identifying what it is that were the holes in their own experience. So we've gotten them into a regular posting cadence to be able to share directly through the platform. We do regular check-ins, and one tool that we use very frequently is the bulk messaging tool. So being able to have that peer-to-peer type of conversation, not coming from, you know, us as the institution, but coming from Claire, your student ambassador, and really making those touch points. And so being nimble and flexible, I think is of course what we have needed to do this year, but also building a structure, having a content calendar that we can reference back to and be able to mix and match and apply as things change to make sure that we're always being as forthcoming as possible with the student population. And I think to that point, Marist was unique in that we did not publicly extend our decision deadline, but we did on the back end encourage conversations to get to know students that were needing to potentially have that flexibility. And although, again, from the front, we stuck to our deadlines, we didn't want to miss the opportunity, of course, to build relationships and hopefully, you know, invite new students to our program.
Yeah, I love that. I just think, I mean, you know, it always seems to go back to, can we actually just have meaningful personal connections, relationships, you know, with these students? You know, no matter what the challenges that seem to face us, like if we have those types of connections with them, we can kind of overcome a lot of the challenges and hurdles. Also, those of you that are watching, if you've got things, I'd love, I mean, share those in the chat as well. If there's unique things you're doing this summer, hopefully what today's show can do is help all of us, you know, get ideas or see what other schools are doing and learn from each other. I'm one of those that believes we can all lift each other up. I know we're competing against each other in some aspects, but also we're all in this together and we can support and lift each other up. So yeah, if you've got great ideas, those of you that are watching, share those as well. Okay, so we've kind of touched on this already a little bit. But I want to know, again, if we can talk through some of these key yield events that are taking place this summer, right? Okay, when I was on your side of the desk, it was just kind of new student orientation, right? That was kind of just the one thing that we did. But I get the sense that today there could be even more than that going on, more types of events or activities that we're leveraging to keep the incoming class connected, engaged, and excited about that transition. So Blake, I'll let you kick us off on this one, but what else, what are you all doing just to keep this class really connected, really excited and engaged?
Yeah, I mean, as far as our typical virtual events through ZeeMee have not changed, right? We do all of our different ones on a regular basis. Just so everybody has a little bit of understanding of what Maryville does is we have a specific staff member, an assistant director that really oversees all of our social media and online student engagement. But also, we've really been tasked as admissions counselors to be in that space, and I post on my profile all the time, and I get to engage with students. And then we have a student apprentice that oversees all of our volunteer student influencers and student orientation coordinators, which is a really cool setup and a really cool structure. And we, these are people that are excited to be in there. And so it works really great for us. But I think for a couple things that we are doing right now, I actually stole this from a strategy meeting a long time ago. I don't remember who it was with, or maybe it was in the ZeeMee 101 classes. I might have stole this from a video, but we did a Res Live kind of like launch party in ZeeMee, which was so much fun. A lot of us on the staff side did not know how this was going to go. We're like, this is kind of weird that everybody is posting their room number in this chat for everybody to see. Like, is this weird? And we're like, no, I guess it's not weird. Students were loving it. And so it was really cool to start building out that engagement. And it's really crazy. Like, we will have students reach out to us on a regular basis and be like, I tried to hunt so-and-so down in ZeeMee and they're not in there. I am concerned. Are they still coming to Maryville? And I'm like, yes, like you need to, it's still summer before college. They get a little time. But then also something big for orientation is we always do like a St. Louis Explore Day for all of our students if they want to connect over the summer, just because we have some great things around us. But also we understand that, we have a lot of students coming from all over the place, and maybe they already traveled into St. Louis a couple of times. And so we're gonna kind of leverage that same thing, Saints Explore, but worldwide with our international students and our students from California, Hawaii, and all of our farther away students to kind of post pictures in ZeeMee in the channel from where they are right now, or where they went on vacation with their Maryville gear or their St. Bernard logo and everything, which I'm really excited to see that engagement on both levels. That's not restricted to students that are just in the local area that can come to our campus on a regular basis, but we can kind of connect with them all over the place. And so and I think the other thing too is, I think when we kicked it off too is we are, we're not done. And that's the understanding, is like we're creating that space for students to still connect with us, but also normalizing that a lot of students still have a lot of questions. And so we want to make sure that they understand that it is perfectly fine to be in a place of uncertainty still right now. And we're here to support you through that. And it is perfectly normal, no matter, I still attended a lot of high school like signing days and stuff like that. And that was kind of interesting because a lot of students didn't fall into that normal timeline. And that's perfectly fine. And so we're still celebrating them the same way through ZeeMee and through some other platforms, which has kind of been fun, and some of the things that we're working on over the summer. I hope that, I think, answered it.
Yeah, I love it. It's super cool. Dinah, I'm curious from you now, again, since you've disclosed being maybe the senior member, on our panel today. I would love to get your perspective on this with a slightly different lens on just how this has changed over the years. You've been doing this for a while. What are we doing today that's over the summer that's just so maybe uniquely different than how we did it maybe years ago? I'd love to just get your insights on that.
Yeah, thank you, Soup. I think that's a great question. I think there's always been a lot of anxiety around just like preparing for the fall, right? And transitioning, arriving on campus, making friends. Am I going to fit in? Am I going to meet people? I remember feeling that way myself when I went to college many, many years ago. I won't say how many. But I think now, even though students have so much more access to connect with peers online or form, online social media groups to get connected with peers, they still are incredibly nervous about that kind of like step, right? That step of like finding community, finding their people, and being okay. And I think it's important to acknowledge that this cohort of students we're recruiting right now and have been for the last few years and will continue to for the next few years, they've been through a lot. They were middle schoolers when the pandemic happened. Many of them spent a year, maybe a couple of years in online schooling. And so their personal kind of pro-social development is just different. They're just on a different timeline. My son is a 17-year-old, a rising senior. I've seen this in my own house, firsthand in terms of where he is on his emotional development. And so I think even though a lot of times they have the tools and the language to seem very advanced and very adult, just because they have so much more access to information and concepts out there than I did when I was their age, they still have that insecurity inside. And so I think just, kind of, and to touch on something that like Blake and Megan were talking about, I think, reminding students that like college is a place to like find community and have fun. And one of the things that I love about the ZeeMee's platform and that we've been utilizing at St. Ed's for many years is just, this is a place for fun, right? This is a place to get connected and to have fun and to have, share your residence hall room or have, kind of like, speed friending, events or live events like that. And I think this year more than ever, these students have needed fun, right? Because it's been such a stressful year with the FAFSA fiasco, as Blake, appropriately called it. And just knowing that the college process is always really stressful. So, I think we've been doing a lot to just keep students engaged in answering their questions and being direct and clear and transparent and helpful, but also reminding them to like, it's going to be okay. Like to take a deep breath, have some fun. We've got you, right? And we're all in this together. And so I think that's been really helpful, to touch on something that, is to your question earlier, Soup, about like, what are we doing differently this summer? There's a lot of things we're doing differently, just given the delayed nature of the timeline. But, one thing that comes to mind for me is that we extended our campus tours. Normally our spring tours would end kind of at the end of the spring semester here at St. Ed's, which is in mid-May, and we would take a break until after Memorial Day to start summer tours. And we just kept going. We didn't take a break. We knew that students are still needing to visit, still needing to tour. We had tours today where we have uncommitted graduated seniors still visiting, trying to make a college decision. And so we offered tours at times during finals week, in here in Austin, a lot of students were done with finals by early afternoon. So we offered late afternoon tours, ways that we could just kind of like continue to serve them differently than we've typically served. Usually we're transitioning to juniors, the rising seniors at this point. And we just had to pivot this year, as I'm sure many of my colleagues have too.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Again, I have a senior that just graduated high school. So going through this as a parent and with him, and you're 100% right. Like, he's a super bright, intelligent student, top of his class. But, he's one of these kids that was caught up in the COVID year and, being able to then go home and do a whole year just on his ThinkPad online, where he was already a student that was questioning, like, why do I need to go to school every day? Like, we could just do this online, and now, like trying to come back from that. I just think it's going to be several years, with this group that's gone through all of this before they really kind of get it. Like, they just need a lot of support. Even the students that are super talented academically and all those things, they just need a ton of support. So, okay, Meg, you're going to kick us off on this next one. I'm switching some things around here a little bit. We're going to move into this next topic and we talked about this last month as well too. But last month when we talked about this, we kind of focused more on some of those other departments around campus, and we can still discuss those a little bit. Obviously, we can't do this alone just within the admissions office. There's multiple departments, offices that get involved in this transition. But what I also want to focus on today is beyond just the other offices and departments that get involved in supporting the students as they arrive on campus, some of those other services or products or things that we're just leveraging to help and assist. I feel like since I've made this switch, I came over to the dark side, the vendor side, about 6 years ago. But I feel like today there's just much more an openness to work with lots of amazing companies and products and services out there. So I think everyone watching today could benefit from just learning, what's out there that we're involved in, that we're using. So Meg, I'll start with you to kind of maybe share some ideas of some of these things, services, products, companies, that maybe you all are leveraging to help support these students as they make the transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so to start, I definitely want to touch on our internal partners
Yes.
just a bit, because we couldn't do anything that we do without, just the relationships that we have and the constant communication. And as I mentioned, I'm on the comms and marketing end, but we're consistently in touch with our enrollment services team, with the admissions team, with our first year programs team, communicating just as we lead up to these different events to continue to engage our students. So thinking about working with our orientation team, we have a unique setup where we invite students and their families here early on in the summer, and then have digital engagement programs for them throughout the rest of the months in the lead up to move in. And so just being sure that we get in touch with the people that are perhaps struggling to get here, might not have been able to make it to certain components, people who are having some trouble with filling out their housing forms. We're in constant communication with teams all throughout campus, and just making sure that we connect with and then follow up with anyone who might be having a hiccup along the way, and just continue to offer them the personalized experience that they need and the support that they're asking to receive. One thing that especially through ZeeMee as a partner platform that's been really helpful for us is utilizing it as like a central funneling channel for this student audience to be able to connect with the ways that they are engaging, inside and outside from other platforms. So reaching out directly to some of those unofficial class of pages that exist and float around on Instagram, and remind them of the resource that we have here, and the ability for them to connect with current students who will be able to offer them that advice and support that they're looking for, and try to best communicate that there are opportunities for them in that way to connect. Of course, we continue to communicate using our email platforms and connecting with our data platforms to make sure that we're tracking event participation, of course, the completion of those surveys and other just enrollment tools as we get them ready, and of course, like registration for classes, just making sure that we are monitoring where they're at in the process so that we can identify what the holes are, and hopefully help them get everything that they need as they continue on and hopefully join us in the fall.
Yeah, I love it. I just, back in the day, you would just hear so much like, on our campus, everything's siloed. Our teams, we don't work well together. And I just feel like today, if your college or university is like that, man, that's tough. Like, I mean, we have to work together. We have to all be on the same page. And I get so encouraged when I today hear people talk about, no, at our school, like it's incredible. We have this amazing working relationship between Marcom and admissions, and everybody's on the same page. So I love that. I want Blake and Dinah, both of you. So Blake, jump in. I want you just to quickly give, some of the maybe product, services, departments. I want you to jump in on this one too.
Yeah, I think, Soup, you nailed it. I mean, I think Maryville is a great example of, I remember even a couple of years ago, like when we were at our convocation event with the president, and he was talking about tearing down silos anyways. And so I think that was a perfect example of us wanting to execute that. And I think we've seen buy-in from that from all of our different departments and our student leaders, which is really important. So all the typical ones that were already mentioned. I think it's always great to remember, and I was trying to pull it up, Soup, but I did find it too. And so, I mean, we have got to present together a couple different times at some conferences, what I love. And I think what we really remind our partners on campus, not that they're often forgetting this, but some of the ZeeMee polls and some of the ZeeMee data about what students are looking for and building that community before they even arrive on campus. And just reminding our students, we have their best interests at heart. And so we really need to go above and beyond, and whatever that looks like, to connect with those students and allow them to facilitate that community. And then this is an external partner, not a typical department or something like that. But I hope Courtney is on. I hope Courtney's on the call somewhere. Oh my God! If you have Courtney as a partner for ZeeMee, She deserves it all. I mean, the number of times that she emails me back about things, and just, the data is unreal already about what you can get from your dashboard and stuff as well. But just sometimes the gentle reminders from Courtney about random different things of maybe you should, we know you're busy and we know you probably looked at it and worked on it, but just in case, here's this great data about these students that really want to come to Maryville that according to your CRM haven't. And so the index scoring, everything's great, but Courtney is phenomenal, and getting to work with her has been a lot of fun. So those two things are huge.
Love you all giving Court a shout out. She is incredible. And the fact that she comes from your side as well, I think, makes her even more powerful in the way she's able to support all of our partners. And she is phenomenal. So yeah, any of you out there that get to work with Courtney on our team, you're very lucky, because she is absolutely a rock star when it comes to this stuff. Who did that? Dinah, is it this? Yes. Yeah, I want to get you with a couple on these before I go to another question.
Sure. So, an external product we implemented this spring was essentially a financial aid estimator form.
Okay.
And so, once we kind of realized, okay, we're not going to get the ICER data in January as the government has told us we would, and then it's not going to come in February. We quickly had to kind of stand up with help from our financial aid modeling consultant, a financial aid estimate form, so that we could get families some estimated packages that would be, pretty closely aligned with what we expected them to receive in their official financial aid packages. So that was a really helpful tool. I think it gave families, and I know a number of other colleges were using something like that as well, either something homegrown or something that they had developed in, with a consultant. And, it wasn't an inexpensive product, but we felt like we just had to do it. And, unfortunately at St. Ed's, we have a very limited budget for things like that. And so we had to just kind of really dig deep, because we felt like it was really important to our families to be able to get them financial aid packages, even if it meant just a few weeks earlier than we would if we didn't do it and waited for the ICER data. So we had a lot of families take advantage of that, which was really helpful. And that was an external product that we didn't see that we were going to have to need this time last year, and I hope we won't need it again.
Yeah, it's a great example, and it kind of leads in. I'm going to skip kind of a question here that leads into a question that I wanted to ask you all. There's so much great stuff out there, right? I've been blown away at. There's so many wonderful companies in our space now doing incredible stuff with amazing services and products, but some stuff's expensive. We do have limited budget. So I had a question on here. If there was no limits on budget, do any of you, is there something out there that you would just I would love to do this, we would love to invest here, if we had budget to do it? I'm just curious if anything comes to mind, and I'll let any of you jump in. I won't call anybody because I don't know if you've got answers to this one, but does anything come to mind that if you were man, if budget was no issue, this is something we've seen in the space that we would absolutely love to adopt and start leveraging?
For me, it's good old-fashioned human capital. If we could get some more hands to support the work that we do, that would be a dream.
Yeah. And that's the struggle. One of the things that's tough and a challenge right now, on the admissions side, we've always had turnover, right? It's just, that's kind of the nature of admissions. We'll get these young admission counselors, and for some, they fall in love with it and it'll be a career for them. But for many, it's that first kind of professional job for a couple of years. But man, it just seems like since COVID, that's just been accelerated even more. And it's tough to keep people excited about, being in our space and working in our industry. And so I know those are challenges with just the human capital, just, the staffing that we need. So I can 100% understand that. Any other things, services, products, things you can think of that you would love to adopt if budget was no limit?
Yeah, I have a few. Mine are a little bit more ZeeMee's specific, and Soup has heard a few of my crazy ideas over the years of getting to work together. And so I'm hoping Adam or Vanessa or somebody is on here and just can start working on this for me, Soup, if you don't mind.
Okay.
But I appreciate that ZeeMee is all around student community and everything like that. But I would love an opportunity, just like roommate matching, for ZeeMee to have an opportunity for college matching. I just think there's so many great data points in ZeeMee, and to be able to just further that to get younger students into ZeeMee and really start that college search process earlier. Like, I don't need it to be lead gen, and everything like that, but I think it would be an awesome opportunity and service to our students. And so I think that's one. I think two, as well. And I randomly just thought about this at 30 minutes or a few minutes ago, whenever somebody said something. But it was, I would love to start getting some of our great admissions organizations and figuring out how we partner with them more, to get in here in front of and get access to these students. I sit on the board for MOACAC, the Missouri Association of College Admissions Counselors, and it's like, we have a couple other really great financial aid associations and different stuff like that. And like, how do we get them providing information like directly to our students, where it's not so, it meets the student where they are in terms that they understand, like, especially in this crazy financial aid year. Like, how did we not have some of our great not-for-profits or and we did a lot at Maryville and trying to access our students through ZeeMee to help them understand their financial aid and the importance of it and everything like that. But just a little bit of that ground level educational opportunity. I just think there's a lot of really great not-for-profit organizations that already partner with colleges and already have access to high school students, and just giving them that opportunity and that audience, even if it's just on the profile feed, or even if they had their own channel that you could go to for FAFSA help or different stuff like that, I think would be huge.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I agree with you. We'll have more conversations about that,
Yeah.
Blake. You always can send us the ideas.
I know. And I think Adam commented about you don't want him working on the code. Well, if I could do the code, Adam, like, I would already have it done, and I would just sell it to you a little marked up or something with a little bit of a markup. But I can't do that. I can always say great ideas, but I can't. The execution part's different.
I love it that Adam's in here lurking in the chat. That is great. Okay, I'm looking at the clock, so we got to move here a little bit. Let's get into this third topic. And really, this is one that we probably should have led with this one, but I wanted to end on this one. This is something I've been talking about at a lot of conferences this year. It's this whole idea of lead attention becoming much more a prevalent thing versus just lead generation, like we've done it for years and years. But also this sense of community and building community and what community looks like and how that's defined. And so the first question I want to ask all three of you, and again, I'll just stay with you, Blake, and you can start, but just briefly in your own words, I would love for you just to define what community means to you, just in your own words.
Yeah, I think community, especially for our students, is really a place where they can feel heard and feel connected, and find other students that push them but are also similar to them, and feel safe in that space. And so I think also what's important about community is you kind of have different backgrounds with different knowledge levels as well. Like, I think you can have a really great community where students are connecting and feeling engaged and everything, but still have members of that community that are helping push the students to that next level and whatever that is. And so I think community takes a lot of different shapes, but I think it's really, really important that they find a safe place where they can feel free to ask questions and feel connected and feel heard and feel appreciated.
Love that. Dinah.
For me, community is all about support, right? And having a network that kind of has your back, whether you want to celebrate something that's really exciting. And this happens a lot of times in our ZeeMee community, where a student chats in the group chat, "Hey guys, I got accepted today." And everyone chimes in as "Oh my God, congratulations." I'm sure, other ZeeMee partners have had the same experience in their communities. But also support when you are lost, right? When you have questions, when you don't know where to go for information, when you've had a sad day. I'm just thinking about like how much my community here in Austin supports me through ups and downs, highs and lows. It's stressful being a parent of teenagers these days, as Soup. So my community, both in my enrollment management community here in the office, but also just in my personal life, is really just about a support network to laugh together, cry together, celebrate together. As corny as this sounds, I think that's what community is all about. And it's hard to sometimes feel connected, right? Like we don't have as much time in community building social spaces in real life these days as, our parents and grandparents' generations did. And so finding places online where we can really kind of support each other versus just like, divide and share opinion and kind of be more divisive in our communication, I think is incredibly important. And so, and teenagers just need that these days, as we all do. So that's what community means to me.
Love that. That is so good. Meg, we'll go over to you.
I really appreciated Blake, your comment just about being able to be together, but also like uplift each other and challenge each other. Because I think if you have a group that is like super homogenous, you don't always get the opportunity to step outside your comfort zone and learn more about different types of people and perspectives that you wouldn't otherwise get the chance. And I think one of the, again, this is also going to sound corny, but like one of the huge benefits of higher education is the ability to connect with different types of people, not in a contentious way, but in a way that inspires education for everyone who's a part of it. And so for me, community is that opportunity, yes, to feel safe, to feel a part of something, but also to know that you have the ability to sometimes challenge your conventions and be able to be heard while you are doing that in a way that is going to make everyone better as a whole. So I appreciate all of like the perspectives of how we work together and support each other.
Gosh, I love it. And there's two themes here, and all three of you have touched on this, but two things I've been like driving home here recently when I speak about this is that also the idea of when this community can begin for these incoming students, and it's changed over time, right? Like, when I went off to college in the mid 90s, it didn't start until I actually the day before classes started. Like I just showed up, convocation, get your class schedule. But like today, community with these incoming students can actually start even before they apply to our school. And they're longing for that. They need that sense of connection and belonging and support. And whether you're doing that on ZeeMee or not, like you've got to find a way for today's students to start to build that community with them long before they ever arrive on campus. And I believe it has like a profound impact when we can do that. And then the other kind of theme that I heard here too is that we can talk about all the other stuff with these students too, right? It doesn't just always have to be the transactional information relay that we're so good at in higher ed. Like we know young people are hurting. We know they're scared. We know they're stressed. We know they have anxiety. We know they have bad days just like we do. And so we can talk about those things if we're in community with them and we can provide that type of support. And I think they really value that as well when they sense that, wow, this school isn't just trying to sell me on the school and get me to go there. Like it seems like they actually really do care about us. So those are things I think that are really important. Okay, I'll stop rambling. I want to ask maybe just one more here, and then we've got to start to wrap up because I just always go too long here. On the same topic of these students and kind of ways that they like to communicate, I'm curious to know from your perspective, how are today's prospective students interacting and communicating with you? How has that changed maybe over the years? What forms of communication do you feel are working or not working? Just give me a sense today of like, this is what seems to be resonating with how we're communicating with students. Meg, I'll start with you and kind of go back around.
Yeah, one thing just anecdotally that I've experienced the past several years too is the level of parental and like guardian involvement in supporting students throughout their journey. So for us, communicating with the parents is just as important, and making sure that when we're communicating deadlines and when we really need that response, that we are looping in those contacts as well from the database. We of course stick to kind of, your big communication channels, which would be, email and individual outreach and text. But we are seeing more engagement on social. So we do have partners that we work with who manage, we have our admissions channels, we have our general hero channels, but being able to provide like specified advice for people, like when they're in the admission cycle, knowing that there's another place that they can ask their questions. And like I mentioned earlier, trying to funnel as many people into, from a student perspective, that ZeeMee platform, so that there's one channel that most of the conversations can happen at. Another thing that's like been super helpful for us too is utilizing like preference surveys. So trying to understand different interests that our students have beyond just what their major is going to be when they come in, trying to make sure that we have all of the resources that we need for students throughout their experience. And then especially making sure what we have is ready for them in the fall.
Gosh, I love that. That's good stuff. Dinah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the same things that Megan just mentioned, I would echo and reinforce. I think, text messaging is really the main way that teenagers like to communicate with us. Sometimes that's the only way my kids will communicate with me as well. So again, sample size of just 2, but I see that in my own house. But I do think, I have been seeing a lot more engagement in our ZeeMee community channels. We have a channel, I'm sure a lot of other partners do too, like Ask a Counselor. And, a few years ago, we've had this type of channel in our community for a number of years. And, a few years ago, we would maybe get a few questions in there from time to time. We've been getting a lot more questions directly in the app to us versus like having them email us or having them pick up the phone and call. And so that's been really exciting to see. Clearly, it's like where they want to engage with us or an additional place where they want to engage with us. And then we also have a chat feature on our website. I know other universities do too. We see a lot of students connect with us through chat as well. Like if they want to just, and parents too, right? Parents are busy. They just want to be able to hop on instead of picking up the phone and calling or sending an email. They just want to like hop on, go to the St. Ed site, find the chat, pop-up thing, and then ask us a quick question. So I think those kinds of types of communication where you can just like drop a question in, someone will get back to you as soon as they can or else right away, and keep it short and sweet. I think that's kind of how so many of us like, as our communication preferences these days. So teenagers are not much different.
So funny. Literally in the house. It's like texting between my 2 boys. Like it's crazy. So
exactly.
I'm 100%. Blake, what about you? Anything additional?
Yeah, I mean, the only couple things, and I know this is going to stress a lot of people out watching, is I've just never been so grateful in my lifetime that even over my short career of 4 years, like the number of phone calls that have decreased almost to 0. Like I have gotten it to where it is like parents will text me, students will text me, they will direct message me through the ZeeMee app, they will ask a counselor, and I love it. I am here for it, and I will never complain about that at all. I mean, obviously we still have our phones and everything, but I think just from, making a student feel comfortable to reach out to you and connect with you and to make it, I think it's more personable that we are, messaging back and forth or that we're texting back and forth, something like that. And I think it makes the student feel more comfortable. And at the end of the day, getting them their answers is really important. And the only other thing I'll add is I love that there's some crossover in like the group chat and stuff between multiple different years. Cause like right now we're seeing some, or in Ask a Counselor, like we're seeing some in Ask a Counselor where someone will randomly ask about like sending a final transcript. And then I'll randomly get a direct message from an upcoming junior that's like, so when I saw this message, so when I apply here soon, I'm going to have to also figure out how to send you a transcript, right? Yes, correct. Very good. I'm glad that you're watching this and catching on. And so that's kind of cool as well, how we can get that cross between several different classes. And so I know that's not exactly what we were talking about on that one, but that just literally happened to me this morning, which was really cool. And so a great way to see them all kind of cross collaborating across those years, which is fun.
Yeah. And just like to piggyback kind of on what you said, that made me think of something. You're exactly right. I mean, I think I've noticed too that sometimes other students will answer questions in the Ask a Counselor chat, right?
Yeah.
So like students they've already gone through the process, they've already applied, but here comes a student a couple of months later who's asking a question about, and before we can get to it as admins, some students answering the question, which is great. And so I think that's another way that I've seen communication change, is that students have access to so much more information. They feel empowered to kind of share that information with peers.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like before, 15 years ago, there were kind of more, very clear lines and boundaries that students and counselors and admission professionals kind of stayed in. So it's great.
And students are so nice about it too. We have a parent Facebook group for our parents, speaking of communication, and a parent will ask a question in the Facebook group. Parents, on the other hand, for the most part, they'll be like, go back and look at this message from this date. Blake already answered this. And I'll be like, okay, well, hold on now. I'm hoping that you meant that in a friendly way. Students, I feel like, are always just so nice to each other, at least in the Ask a Counselor. And I appreciate it too, because I appreciate that, students feel confident enough to understand our processes. And it also reassures us that, we talk a lot about, access and opportunity, and it really reassures me as an admissions counselor that, some of the things that we remove really were hurdles, and those are hurdles that we are removing at a college level, that students feel confident enough to understand our process. Okay, then it must be pretty accessible. Or it's a really good check-in to see if we're getting the same question 1,000 times, is this a hurdle for our students, and should we address this on a whole level instead of just keep answering this question, or create an FAQs page or something like that, or why do we have this anyways? And so I think from a high level, we also look at that a lot. We use that data too to see, what's stopping our students, or what's confusing our students, and how do we fix this in the future?
Gosh, I love it. I wish we could just keep on going, but I know we're up against the clock. All right, so this has been awesome. I knew this was going to be an awesome conversation today, but before we wrap up here, I have to do this. You all know there's a little segment I do in every one of these episodes. We call it Gas or Splash. It's kind of just our way of doing kind of like hot or not. My panelists have no idea what I'm going to throw out at them. I've got a few things. And I think panelists, do you remember the order we're going to go in when I do these? Just because I can't remember. Okay, they remember, I can't remember. So we're going to go through a few of these real quick. We'll wrap up, see if we've got any questions before we jump. Here comes the first one. So when I say it, just go in the order, and you're just saying gas because you love it, or splash because you don't like it. All right, first one, Summer Olympics.
Gas.
Gas.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'm all about the Summer Olympics. Although, this whole Caitlin Clark thing about not being, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, the next one, the annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest.
Splash.
I'm going to say splash because I'm a vegan. I'm really excited that Joey Chestnut has signed an endorsement deal with vegan hot dogs. I love to see it. I'm sorry, he's been banned. So splash on that.
Also splash.
Oh, come on, you guys. I love a good hot dog eating contest. All right. Overnight orientation.
Splash.
Gas happening right now on our campus as we speak.
Splash. I get worried.
Okay, yeah, that one's always up in the air. I love it. Okay, let's do summer concert music festivals.
Oh, gas.
Absolutely gas.
Yeah.
Splash. Too hot. I can't.
Okay, love it. Now, this one may be irrelevant today, and this may show how long I've been out of the office on your side of the desk, but let's see if this is even still a thing. Casual Fridays in the office.
Oh, gas.
A gas for those who want it, a splash for me, but I'm old school.
Yes, I do casual lots of days.
Yeah, I feel like post-COVID, we're in a new world now. It may just be casual, can go anytime these days.
Yeah, I know. As I'm wearing my ZeeMee's sweatshirt on this podcast right now, so hope that's good.
All right, last one. Hosting live events on ZeeMee.
Oh, gas. It's important.
Gas.
100% gas.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. All right. That's all I have for our gas or splash questions. As we wrap up real quick, I'm trying to look. I want to make sure. I think most of the questions that were asked, I think those kind of got addressed in the chat. But Claudia, you can ping me again if there's something that someone had that maybe wasn't addressed. Let's see. Nope. Claudia says all good. All right. Want to thank each of you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. All three of you have been amazing ZeeMee partners through the years. All three of you just are rock stars beyond ZeeMee. I mean, you're so good at what you all do. It was awesome to have you on the show today just to learn from you. I do want to make sure if anyone out there wants to connect with you real quick, go in the same order for Gas and Splash. Just let everybody know, like whether it's LinkedIn or if you want to just quickly share email, like if people wanted to reach out or be connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so I'll drop, of course, my email in the chat for everybody, just in case they want to copy and paste it. You could also direct message me on ZeeMee because we're all in the same ZeeMee channel. But no, just connect with me on LinkedIn. That would be fine as well.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, happy to connect there with anyone who wants to connect and network and ask questions. I still serve a small admission territory myself in Southern California, New Mexico, and Houston. So I'll look forward to being in people's areas and even meeting in person if that's something that people still do. But I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Feel free to email me. Happy to chat with anyone.
Perfect.
Similar here, I'll drop my email, and I'm also active on LinkedIn as well. So always happy to connect and continue the conversation.
Love this so much. Also, just want to let everyone know. So last month we started a new thing with So Hot Right Now, where normally 2 weeks after the So Hot Right Now episode, we do more of a workshop around whatever the topic was. We're not going to do that for June. We're just kind of a little bit of a break here. We will pick that back up in July. So just want to let everyone know that. Make sure you get registered whenever you see those links for next month's episode of So Hot Right Now. I think we're going to focus more on top of the funnel engagement recruitment. We're thinking about that next class. We've got to start recruiting. So that will be the focus. But I just want to say again for our guest today, thank you so much for joining and giving up your time. We know how busy you are. Things do not slow down in the summer like they used to back in the day. So thank you so much for taking a little time out of your day just to join us and share your insights and knowledge. And all of you that jumped in and watched today, participate in the chat, thank you so much for connecting with us. And we look forward to seeing you all again next month for our next episode. So we'll see you all. Thanks for joining. Bye.